This is the explanation for week 10. Yes, our last week. This week, you will delve into poetry and you relate to parents through some read alouds. So, some questions to be posed this week is: how do you feel about poetry? How do you teach poetry to students? And how can you assist parents in reading aloud to their children? Kind of two topics this week. I'm going to click on week 10. And here's the 10 wiki that you will use. And we're using a wiki this week so that you can comment on two of your colleagues' postings in your work this week. So you're going to start off by reading chapter 4 and the article reviewing poetry. After reading chapter 4 in our textbook and the article reviewing poetry that's found below, select a book of children's poetry and write a review of the book using the checklist Assessing Quality in Poetry, which is figure 4-1, and the information from the textbook and article. Post your review in the week 10 wiki. You are to read two of your colleagues' postings and comment on the review. Here's the article, so when you click on that, you'll see the article. The second activity is about two approaches to teaching poetry. There are at least two distinct approaches to teaching poetry. One way is to teach the classics during a concentrated unit on poetry, working on discovering the meaning of a poem and the poetic devices that a poet used to convey that meaning. Another approach is to read poetry aloud regularly, allowing children to respond in a variety of individual ways, providing modern collections of poetry for children to browse through, planning and encouraging experiences of choral reading, and teaching how poems work when students demonstrate an interest. You're going to discuss the differences in these two approaches. What assumptions does each approach hold? What are the pros and cons of each approach? How will classroom practice differ? How might students' responses to poetry differ? What assumptions does each of these approaches hold? And does the age of the students make a difference in using each of these approaches? Respond to these questions in a Word document and post that in the week 10 wiki this week. Again, read two of your colleagues' postings and comment. The third activity is to take a look at poetry workstations. If you click on this, you'll see a video. And so after you watch the video, Poetry Workstations, you're going to create 4 poetry workstations that you would use in your classroom. Make sure at least one of the stations involves technology. One station should be teacher guided, and the other 2 stations can involve technology or not, but they're pretty much self-guided by the students, those 2 stations are. You can find ideas for these stations using online resources such as Pinterest or other teacher websites. Please do not use worksheets unless they are used for instructions, of course. Create a hands-on, engaging activity for each station. Post your ideas for your poetry stations in week 10 wiki. The fourth activity is to create a poem. Using the information found below, write either an I am or an I am from or a bio poem. I have written an I am from poem that you can see as the exemplar. There are other exemplars of other types of poems in the information found below. Post your poem in the week 10 wiki. Comment on 2 of your colleagues' poems. You're going to be commenting on many of the activities this week, at least for 2 of your colleagues. So this is the information about an I am from, or a bio poem information. And this is my exemplar of a poem that I wrote that you're welcome to take a look at. These are some additional resources to teach poetry in this folder. And we're going to move into the read aloud excerpts. So you're going to select one of the chapters from Jim Trelease's book on reading aloud and create a summary, a reflection incorporating any ideas that resonate with you as you read that chapter excerpt. Post this summary reflection in the week 10 wiki and comment on 2 of your colleagues' postings of chapters different than the one you selected. Share how your colleague's summary reflection relates to what you have read and wrote. And last but not least, the last activity is the 6th activity is some chapter ideas. Read chapters 11 and 12 in our textbook. Both of these chapters discuss so many ideas to use literature within your instruction. Select a chapter of the grade that you might want to teach. Write at least 10 ideas in the chapter that the chapter offers to infuse literature in your instruction. These are ideas within ideas in each chapter. Post these ideas in the week 10 wiki. So all of your work is going in the week 10 wiki this week, and you're going to comment on the the activities, responses from the activities of your colleagues, at least 2 of them. And you can do more if you'd like as well, and you can always get extra credit if you do more. Last but not least, this is also the week you're going to submit your final exam, which is your e-portfolio. So you're going to click on this folder here to go to your e-portfolio, and here's the Dropbox that you're going to link your e-portfolio and your screencast. Your screencast is under 5 minutes, make it about 2. You can make it a little bit longer if you'd like. And you're going to respond to 3 questions. You don't need to navigate through your e-portfolio, you just need to respond to 3 questions. Show me what was your favorite part of the class or the e-portfolio. What was the most challenging part of the class? Which assignment was that? And what artifact in your e-portfolio shows you best as a social studies teacher? And you don't want to be a social studies teacher. I made a mistake on that. You want to be a teacher who uses children's literature. So I will make that change here so that it's not social studies, it's children's literature. You can find the description here in regards to what needs to be in your children's literature e-portfolio. Here are a couple of exemplars that you're welcome to use to look at. If you want to use Google Sites, you're welcome to. Here are some other resources about creating an e-portfolio. Digication e-portfolio is what our university supports, so you can create that. And if you have an e-portfolio already started, you just need to create a children's literature page for that. And that takes care of your final exam and the screencast for that as well. They're all due the last Sunday of the week. And if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask me. Otherwise, I'll see you online.